Hey guys, time to check out what is new in 8.8 and how the meta is looking. I think it'd be really cool to see what you think of this patch, or like what your biggest surprise was. Maybe a champion is like just much better than before. Make sure you let me know in the comments. Like for me, one of the biggest surprises has got to be Graves, going from barely played, losing a lot, to one of the best junglers we have again. Now anyway, timestamps and a list are in the description in case you would rather read or skip to your role. That is fine, but let's jump into our first view. So with AD carry, the biggest surprise has got to be Varus is actually a lot worse than before with his W rework. I thought this was going to make him better, so did Riot, but apparently not. So we've got stuff like Kai'Sa and Caitlyn, the normal stuff, but then more Jinx, Draven, and Miss Fortune. Jinx is the first one we're going to look at. Kai'Sa and Caitlyn, everybody knows about them, right? Probably a bit more of a risky version of Kate, really, but one that can carry a bit earlier into the game. She has very good wave clear with Runins, which can help if your team gets behind, especially when Riot is nerfing wave clear quite a lot. You have good setup with current support, so you can actually get ahead and fight in the lane phase. Like their crowd control into your trap is a pretty free kill in the lane phase. Some old buffs from a few patches ago are going to be the reason, really though, making her better at 1 to 2 items because of ranks in her queue. For a crit champion, that is really good for her. The thing is, she's easy to play though. She has high range, rockets are hitting everybody, so target selection isn't as important, I guess, and her cleanup from her passive giving her way more gold out of fights if she's already winning them. I'm going to group Draven and Miss Fortune together because it's kind of the same story for both, basically. Games are a little bit quicker. These are two of the AD carries who can actually dominate lane and then turn that into a win pretty early on. It's kind of like if they get ahead, their damage output is just way too much to handle. It spikes way too much and it can just get messy really fast. Conqueror is another big reason. Well, actually probably the biggest reason. It is so good on these two champions. For range champions, Conqueror is not active for very long, so you have to use it quickly. The good thing with both of these is they can both blow their loads while it's active and really abuse the extra true damage. Miss Fortune, by the way, is much more lower elo friendly with her poke and ultimate from range. You don't have to get as close. She's very hard to play against, but you pick both for the same reason. You just crush your lane. So Kai'Sa is still busted at the moment. Her upgraded Q does a ton of damage and her mid to late game is insane. Caitlyn is like the safest choice you can play. Wave clear, farm, push, take towers, control the game that way, or just wait for late game. Now Zyra and Jhin are still very good, but I want to mention Sivir very quickly. So you wouldn't think that she'll be as good if the game is speeding up, but she can do really well. It's a very simple playstyle that people seem to be abusing. Early you can just push over and over, and if you get away with it, you end up making them miss so much CS on the tower and you get a lot of tower damage. You're going to be able to speed up other damage picks on your team as well, helping them do a bit more, which is even better right now, and then carry really hard at 3+ items. So let's move into our next role, which is going to be mid lane. As always, has changed a little bit, but it's still a bit more aggressive than before. So we have the new LeBlanc, Cassiopeia, Zed, and Fizz. LeBlanc has had a rough win rate so far in 8.8, but it is climbing each day, which is a good sign that people are just really like relearning her from before. The big thing is though that her ban rate has also climbed every single day, and it's been up to being banned in over 50% of games at the moment. For her play rate to suddenly spike up massively and her ban rate climb as well, I think it is safe to say that the new or old LeBlanc, I guess, is a really good pick again. One thing that we are remembering is how fast she can kill people now, like compared to how she was after the rework. Before, she would have to kind of set up this timer with her marks, right, before she could actually kill you, but now that's been reverted. She can just burst combo in less than a second and you'll disappear. So Cassiopeia is the other one, and even though games are a bit quicker, as we said, Cassio is dominating past about 20 minutes in 8.8. A big part of this is a change in her build. We're not going for double scaling anymore. The game is way too fast. Now it's Archangels into Rylai's and Liandry's afterwards. We are skipping the Rod of Ages most of the time. We're basically saying that now we're going to be fighting a lot earlier into the game. We're going to get power now instead of waiting and scaling to be a bit better like late game. We're going to get the slow faster, Liandry's faster, and so a Deathcat faster as well afterwards. Cassiopeia is 100% a top tier pick if you can play her. Fizz is the other one we mentioned, still crushing solo queue. Riot is really pushing like assassins right now. It's an assassin's wet dream, honestly, with this meta. So you get a lead in the lane phase, you run around with your ultimate and get a lot of kills. Zed obviously is kind of the same thing, but has had a lot of good buffs recently, plus tabby nerfs on top of that to really bring him back properly. So let's quickly talk about the new Ahri after her rework. She seems fine, but people are playing and banning her less as we get into the patch. Probably means that she is not as strong, or definitely not broken, and from what a lot of people have said, she feels a little bit clunky with her new kit. She definitely has more carry potential if you can hit your charm, but it is a big if really. It hasn't made her broken as some people thought it would, but she is still good. The jungle role is very open, right? I've done a pretty good job so far this season, I think, of making it so a lot of picks can be played, but we have like our Warwick and Kha'Zix who have been strong for ages, but Shaco is popping up more, and we have Graves. Graves is close to a top 5 win rate in career right now, and about that around the world, even when he's being played more and more every day. He did get buffed, but I doubt a bit more health and lower ultimate cooldown did all of this. They weren't massive. Remember, Tabby were nerfed a little while ago as well, and now we're picking things with a lot lower health. We're not really in a tank meta anymore. All of that means that Graves can actually pop off and just blow up everybody around him. He is a really high damage pick. He is good at farming, so he's going to get a lot of items. He does a ton of damage. He can gank all right, but amazing at dueling others with his damage. And this meta is kind of coming like full circle for him back to where he was really good. I want to talk about Trundle really here as well, because he is still probably one of the most underrated choices out there to win a game and grind some LP with. It might not be the prettiest way to climb or the most fun way to do it, but 100% he is so hard to play against, and he will win you a lot of games. First off, he abuses a very strong item in Zeke's Herald. He will glue to people, healing, being more tanky, and the whole time he's going to boost the AD carry's damage with that burn. Zeke's can provide a massive damage boost when used properly, and is really underrated. The new build that we're looking at mostly is this Cinderhulk thing that makes him more annoying, even harder to kill. He's basically like, kind of, you know how you remember Maokai in the jungle would just basically be a tank support? Trundle is the new generation of this. He can gank very well. He can disrupt amazingly with his pillar, but he will be there as kind of like a frontline support for your AD carry. Kha'Zix is still the most banned jungler, I think. Kind of crazy that even when we're also used to playing versus him and stuff, we just still decide we really don't want to. After the recent changes, his damage if he finds you alone is even higher now, and that probably makes the whole thing worse really. The bush stealth is obviously something that most people can't deal with. It's very annoying, at least the most annoying part of it, and Kha'Zix can really carry mid to late game by finding these people alone, stealthing around to pick them off. That is really the difference in why Kha'Zix is pick or ban for such a long time. He can actually use any lead he gets. He can use the damage he has and keep carrying throughout the whole game. Warwick is still around if you really can't be asked to work for your LP, just does everything a bit too well. Shaco, after his buffs, this guy is crazy good at carrying games and assassinating the backline. I know it's a little bit weird, but he is one of the best mid to late game assassins. Support has shifted around a lot more, and it's like 100% back to mages now. The tanks have really gotten boned in 8.8. It's stuff like Nami, Janna, Zyra, and Morgana. Nami has actually dethroned Janna as the highest win rate support in 8.8, at least when I made this video. First time in ages. She offers a lot more damage and playmaking than Janna does, so normally you should be fighting and getting kills a lot more. Nami tilts me, to be fair, okay? She can put out a lot of damage while healing, and if your support doesn't hit her back as well as you when you trade, she's actually going to out-trade you every time. Her teamfight impact might not be massive like as a Lulu or something like that, but in the early skirmishes, it'll still be absolutely amazing. Her heal is going to help if you have a bad AD carry, like help them trade a little bit. It also helps you spank a bad AD carry on the enemy team, like you can fight with more aggressive AD carries, you can protect passive players as well. Zyra is the other one that we're going to talk about today. We're seeing a lot more of her, and her win rate is really high early into the game, so that will be why. She might not bring as much protection or a damage boost for the AD carry with Sensor, but she brings the damage herself. Her poke is nuts in lane. She will bully you, she'll be really annoying to lay against, and if you try and stop that, you're going to end up running into a root, and once you run into the root, her burst is just going to be as good, especially after she gets her ultimate. It's so hard to 2v2 or even gank that lane unless you can lock her down. She obviously doesn't have much health, and that's a downside. If she gets caught, she will die instantly, but she brings more damage than most supports. Janna is still on here just because she's kind of too straightforward to play and strong on what she does. She's very high impact and too good at really protecting her team. Morgana is a lot like Zyra, brings more damage, but just not as much because you have your snare, which is awesome setup, so like lets your AD do a bit more damage, and her black shield for later. Sona is the honorable mention for support. Is seeing more play and winning more too, but this is much different. She is awful early game after her changes a little while ago. Her win rate is so low, but her later game win rate is so high that it more than balances out. Mostly this is going to come from her AoE sensor with her healing and her shielding, her aura spam from her ultimate cooldown reduction, and just how amazing she is in teamfights. She has all this healing, she has this damage boost as well, and she has this massive ultimate. Okay, so top lane finally, and it seems like we are just getting a bunch of bruises again like we have for a while, but Aatrox, Irelia, Malphite, and Camille definitely stand out. So Aatrox has gone to kind of another level now after this new build popped up, abusing the reworked Rage Blade. This thing offers everything you could ever want and synergizes with his kit as well. It is such good value for money, or good value for gold, I guess. He has his crazy spike though before about 25-30 minutes into the game, so it really is like 1 to 2 items where he's so good. That Trinity Force plus Rage Blade combo combo is insane. You don't have to go for those two just to say that. He seems to pop with other stuff as well, like Titanic Hydra, maybe Sterox, but just not as hard. It's kind of crazy though how he came out of nowhere, but honestly is such a good choice to learn now if you want to do damage and carry from the top lane. One thing I will say is he is on Riot's radar to do a rework, so I wouldn't get too comfortable with him because eventually it will change. Malphite is the other one I want to talk about. I think Irelia and Camille are more common, right? Been good for a while and people kind of understand why they are good. Malphite is not so much though. Hasn't been a good champion for a while, but we do have a lot of AD champions and bruisers out there at the moment, especially since Conqueror was introduced. For some reason, even after the Tabby nerfs, Malphite has come up to the same level as like a Sion. There really is not anything special apart from the fact that he's the AD counter and there are loads of AD champions around for him to slap. A lot of things like Fiora or Jax or Riven can really struggle against him. What you're really looking for is a mix of AD damage and like auto base, because you can slow their attack speed so much. So it's pretty much just matchups right now. Irelia is still really popular, but doing well at the same time. Definitely seems to be a lot better once you get out of lane and get a few items though. Camille is probably the best like carry bruiser in 8.8 or very close. Good damage, good burst, can really carry, and her roams are so good. Now Singe is the last one we're going to talk about because he is an early game machine, like out of this world on his own up there at the top, but his win rate does lower as the game goes on. Games are faster on average in 8.8, so he's going to be a bit better, but it's also Shurelia's Revelry, the support item. We talked about this in the career video, but basically it's a better damage version of Righteous Glory. It does a very similar job, but just more AP, and it lets him be more of a beast himself. So that gives you a good snapshot of what the 8.8 meta looks like and why these champions are so good. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, but for now, I will leave you with the robots.